good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 19 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with artificial intelligence and machine learning strategies and programs in the federal government. With me on today's show are Dmitry Kuznetsov, Undersecretary, Science and Technology, Department of Homeland Security; Shane Barney, Chief Information Security Officer, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services; Ramesh Menon, Chief Technology and Artificial Intelligence Officer, Defense Intelligence Agency; Matthew Gravis, Chief Data and Artificial Intelligence Officer, Department of State; Katie Tierney, Area Vice President, Digital Services and Operations Management, BMC; Sujit Mohanty, General Manager, Field Engineering, Public Sector, Databricks; and Michael Hardy, Chief Architect, Law Enforcement and Justice at Red Hat. Big panel, big topic, a lot of direction from the White House over the last year. A memo that cites DHS 37 times, if I counted right, and then some direction right behind that. A lot of strategy coming out of the agencies here. Dmitry, let's start with you and just give us take it from the top. A lot of action going on over there at DHS. You all just issued some direction. You're on a tear as far as some hires. Give us the state of the state.
You know, it's an exciting time for a number of reasons. You know, DHS is, at its core, a large law enforcement agency, and we touch more people every day than any other agency, literally millions of people at border crossings, at airports, and so on. And so there is a forward face to what we do that interacts with the public that requires us to be very sensitive to responsible use, to privacy, civil rights, civil liberties, because everything somehow works in that space. And it's a fascinating place to be. I would say DHS has been ahead of the curve with respect to other places I've been, in that the mission has forced people into this world of trying to deal with the richness of data to solve problems. And at the same time, as a big law enforcement agency, AI, ML, and these kinds of tools are the only force multipliers we really have. And there are a lot of places where we have seen in the last couple of years the value of leaning into AI. For example, in doing bulk cash money laundering, things that took 10 experts 3 years in terms of disentangling the financial networks can now be done in days. In the dark web streaming of child sexual exploitation, the kinds of work that took roughly do 4 leads over the course of a year, we can do 50 times faster now, and we can do that amount of work in a week. There are a lot of places at airport checkpoints where you're seeing this kind of rapid amplification of productivity, of capability, not just doing better in terms of speed, but in terms of how we're functioning, how aware, and the information we're putting together. So it's the right time, and the top cover of the executive order is really making a difference.
Fantastic. A lot of leveraging going on there. Sounds like some great use cases. Shane, you have a dual role. You've got to protect this capability, and then, of course, you're using it against the bad guys. Yep. Tell us about the approach that CIS is taking.
So USCIS has never met a shiny object we didn't want and didn't buy 5 of. So,
well, at least you admit it here in public.
Oh yeah, I would never deny that. I value honesty above all. And so, the fact that AI has really gained so much, especially public awareness is not surprising. It is an amazing technology. But the reality is USCIS started and even on the security side, we started utilizing AI technologies as far back as 2015 and 2016 in our SOC when we deployed it with our SOAR products and as part of our SIM. Utilizing machine learning then was how we handled cloud. It was cloud. We expanded into our cloud environment. It really took that type of technology to enable us to be able to deal with the log ingest, to be able to find the vulnerabilities, and to be able to ferret out the activities that we were looking for. We would later deploy more machine learning with our endpoint detection as well as network detection. And then we'd also leverage things like neural learning for spam filtering. So, the idea of doing artificial intelligence is not new. I think what is new and what's really gaining momentum and is driving a change in the IT landscape is the generative side of it. That's sort of the power and the future. I think that when we start talking about AI, I think that's what everyone's really worried about. Well, worried about and excited about. I think it's kind of. I did a post on LinkedIn where I referred to it as in the first part of the Tale of Two Cities, where he talks about the best of times and the worst of times. It's kind of like that, right? Because AI offers, especially the generative side of it, offers some amazing capabilities in terms of how to meet the mission and do things that we simply couldn't do before, or we did in exceptionally difficult ways. And now, we have this opportunity to really capitalize on that. But at the same time, generative AI is uniquely different. It is outside of a lot of the type of IT security that we do. And it's going to require specialized sort of security controls and specialized policies and an update to new overlays for us to use. That stuff doesn't exist yet. And in fact, there's a lot of discussion within the security community about what that really is. So, I think the future of AI is all about the promise that it provides us, but at the same time, we need to be very careful of what we're getting ourselves into, and that we don't bite off more than we can chew before we're ready for it.
No question, when you get aggressive adopting this technology, you have to get aggressive on policy and structure and securities, et cetera. Ramesh, I can't imagine the role that you're playing over there and the activity that is going on in that both the AI and the CTO community for all of the intelligence community. Give us a state of the state at the top as to how the adoption cycle is going.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here. Good morning. So I'm pleased to announce that DIA has an official AI strategy. So General Barrier signed off on that strategy in December. We are currently trying to operationalize that strategy. And
Congratulations.
It took me a long time. Yeah, it's not a simple thing to get a formal sign off from the agency director for any strategy, right? So I had to have listening sessions with every single Intel Service Center, every single combatant command, understand their needs and priorities, understand the gap, look at from different pillars, skills, talent, platforms, technologies, tradecraft, partnerships. So we are looking very holistically to figure out the convergence of platforms, data, and algorithms for human-machine teaming and machine-machine teaming. And that's basically at a broad level what we are trying to do. And as you probably know, that DIA has a responsibility for all source foundational military intelligence. We provide the intelligence on it every day to the chairman of Joint Chiefs and our policymakers to ensure and prevent strategic surprises, right? We want to prevent strategic surprises. That's our primary goal. And that, because we have all the data, right? All sources, all the data we get, SIGINT, HUMINT, GEOINT, we have all the data. And AI is nothing but extracting value from data. So DIA is in a very unique position to provide that common intelligence picture to the warfighters and downstream operators to ensure that we can decisively get the intelligence advantage we need as a nation, keep the country safe. And that being said, we have a couple of things, right? On the DoD side, National Security Council is working on an NSM as we speak right now. On the IC side, we have established the Chief AI Officers Council that ODNI is leading. I represent my agency as the Chief AI Officer on that council. We are looking at potentially new ICDs, the Intelligence Community Directive, to ensure that we have the authorities to do what we need to do. I think it's called ICD 505. That's still in works. And so we are looking at holistically while continuing to create capabilities where we can compete with our near-peer adversaries as we move forward in the era of strategic competition and a rapidly evolving technology landscape.
And go toe-to-toe with them. So we really do appreciate everything that you're doing over there. Matt, you're a dual threat there with the Chief Data and Artificial Intelligence Officer, a treasure trove of data. You guys shot out of the cannon early. Got your strategic direction out there several months ago. Give us an update as to where the State Department is these days.
Happy to. Thanks, Luke, for having us. Great to be on a panel with amazing colleagues across the government and in industry. We did shoot out of the gate, and Shane was talking about we've been doing AI for a while. That's true of the State Department. We've been doing it for a while, and then generative AI came out, and all of a sudden, the accessibility of that kind of technology to everyday employees really accelerated the use and the desire for use of AI in the department. When the rest of us were saying in the technology community, like, we've been doing this for years, and yet the excitement just really bubbled up. And so we took advantage of that really quickly. And we jumped in and started building our enterprise AI strategy. Secretary Blinken signed it in October of 2023. And we've been off and running ever since. We were excited to see the executive order come out of the White House. Anytime you can get cabinet level secretaries talking about technology around a room at the White House is a good thing.
That's a win.
That's a win. So having that kind of top cover and then driving is actually driving change at an agency level. Our strategy focuses on technology, governance, workforce training, and innovation. And we're working both sides in terms of guardrails and innovation at the same time. And we're excited to see more of that. That our mission is words. Words are our currency in diplomacy. And I haven't met a tool, candidly, that meets a mission like generative AI does with diplomacy. And so we're excited to continue aggressively moving toward that and doing it in a responsible way.
Wow, very powerful statement by the Chief Data and Artificial Intelligence Officer at State. We really appreciate everything that you all are doing over there. Katie, how about at BMC? A lot of this technology allowing you all to really deliver some goods and services and capability to these agencies. No question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting to hear both Shane and Matt bring up generative AI, and sort of the shiny toy, I think, is the way that
the shiniest toy
Shane
of the shiny toys.
It is so shiny. It's so exciting. And it is a really powerful technology and set of technologies to help drive better decision making. And the problem that we're seeing when we talk with customers, not only in government, but also in industry, is looking at generative AI by itself isn't the answer. Particularly in our space, we focus on the IT space and the operations management, service management. We see that generative AI is really essential, but there are other pieces of artificial intelligence that are just as essential in order for you to actually meet the mission. And those are predictive artificial intelligence and causal artificial intelligence. From our perspective in IT, if you can't predict that something's going to go wrong, and if you can't figure out why it went wrong, so predictive and causal, then you certainly can't actually generate the solution to it. So that's really where we focus as an organization, is how do we bring these three pillars of artificial intelligence together to help serve the needs of the mission moving forward.
Fantastic. And we really appreciate everything that BMC is doing. Sujit, how about at Databricks? You all have entered onto the scene, a major player in helping and unlock these capabilities across the agencies.
Yeah, Luke, thanks for having me this morning. Some great areas from all the panelists, everything from what Shane talked about on like how do we actually integrate with existing systems to what Ramesh and Dimitri talked about as well, national security, and also some of the other key imperatives that we can do with leveraging this type of technology. For us, being a data intelligence platform is what we call ourselves. We're kind of ubiquitous across all the different cloud providers. We've worked with a wide variety of different agencies. Ultimately, I think the two areas that we're really kind of touching upon, I think the governance aspect as far as how to leverage, not only your data, but also leveraging that with generative AI and actually doing that across multiple different key areas as far as governance, data quality, data lineage, doing that safely and securely is very key. And then the other aspect of it is how do we also drive innovation on the commercial side? So bringing the best of tech to government. We released a large language model just the other day, and the speed, accuracy, cost is starting to go down in many different variants. So the end benefactor at the end of the day is the federal government. So we're really excited by the amount of innovation that's happening in this space. It's really going to allow us to actually excel as a country going forward.
And we appreciate the partnership. Michael, how about over at Red Hat? You all are known for a lot of different things, and there's no question that you're taking this technology and making all those capabilities better. Give us the state of the state from Red Hat's perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Good to be with you again. We have a really great story already, and it shows how fast this technology specifically is moving. One of the stories that's really coming forward this year and started last year really is agent health across DHS. And we have a great story out of the VA with one of my peers, Ben Cushing, with Mission Daybreak, where we partnered with the VA as part of their 10-year strategy to end veteran suicide. And so suicide is a complex problem. There's a lot of data that's required to analyze and identify people that are at risk. And that's the exact purpose of this platform built on top of Red Hat technologies. And we had to tackle a lot of the issues that we're talking about here today, where we're talking about responsible use, right? When we're talking about data, more specifically health data, right? We have to be able to de-identify data to ensure that we protect our veterans and our patients. We have to, think about bias. Then we have to validate our data, right? So one of the issues that we tackled here is that not all veterans are engaged with the VA, right? Sometimes they're using community methods for healthcare. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of this platform was to unify all the different data sets and provide an output to identify our veterans that are at risk of suicide. And this is an extremely important mission. And as my peer at BMC said, predictive, that's exactly what this is. We need to identify issues quickly and be able to help our veterans. And this is a fantastic use case of this technology to where we're really serving the mission. And we hope to bring this to DHS as well.
And we really do appreciate a very sensitive subject, a very important one. And we appreciate everything that Red Hat is doing to help our veterans out. We're going to take a short break and we're going to be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're going to get into some specific use cases. Ramesh, I'm going to start with you. You top-lined a lot of super important activity that's going on over there at DIA. Can you give us an example of one that you'd like to spotlight for the community?
Absolutely. Majority of the work we do are classified, but I'll try to give at a broad level. One major program that we do is, so DIA has responsibility for all source foundational military intelligence, and that information has to be shared with everyone. The way we do that is through our MARS platform, Machine Assisted Rapid Repository System. And that is a great example on how we are sharing the information with our partners, including our 5I partners and allies, and various commands to ensure we provide common intelligence picture to support the warfighter and policymakers as we go. So I think that's a very good example how we are extracting the value of data to provide decision support in certain cases. Sometimes it is decision augmentation, and certain times it is decision automation. Depends on the scenario. For example, if you're in space domain, right, we deal with all the domains, land, air, sea, space, cyber, and EW. So it's very important to truly understand that we have common intelligence picture across all the domains and then use that effectively for our advantage as a nation.
We appreciate that that delicate balance that you need to do there, and so we appreciate the insight that you're able to give us without any type of compromise there. Katie, how about at BMC? You top-line some interesting aspects and things that are super important that need to be considered as we go on this generative AI journey. Can you give us a specific example you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to brag a little bit on BMC as a company as part of this, because my real success story, we deliver SaaS solutions to hundreds of customers globally. We've got millions of end users who are using our systems. And as you can imagine, that means that there's a lot of information coming in about these various systems and all of the metrics and the logs and all of the events and monitoring. And what we've been able to accomplish with our platform, our generative AI and causal AI and predictive AI platform, is we're taking 1.5 million metrics per second. So think about that. That's roughly 100 million metrics per minute that we're able to pull into our system, and we're able to make effective decisions very, very quickly because of the artificial intelligence platform that we've built this on. And if you just think of the scale of that data, 100 million metrics per minute, you can't have a human brain look at that and actually make decisions, but you can have a machine's brain do it. And that's the
They certainly
platform
couldn't do it
that we built.
accurately.
Yeah, they could do it, just throw a dart at something and it's, yeah, that looks about right. But we've actually been able to drive much faster resolution and a significantly higher performance of our entire SaaS platform because of what we're doing with artificial intelligence across those three areas: predictive, causal, and generative.
Machine to machine, the only way to go. Dimitri, you started us off and top line some very interesting statistics there. Would you like to highlight a program? I know there's many under the tenure of Homeland Security, but give us one that you'd like to spotlight.
One that I really like is something we call Stream View, and this is trying to extract content from streaming dark web. And the problem is there is no recorded database. This stuff is done in real time, and you have to understand how to construct from that the networks, the adjacent crypto transactions. Often this is attached to pedophiles and child exploitation. In the past year, I measure the success of these in terms of the impact on people. This tool has led to the rescue of 68 individuals, 47 arrests, 8 life sentences. There are 8 trafficking networks that have been dismantled, and each network, has millions of people in them. These are not simple networks. The global expanse of these that are operating out there is sometimes just stifling when you step into this. And these are active tools investigators use, and kind of metrics for them. The workload has gone to things that were measured in months are now days. Things that were days are now minutes. And it's really transformative. And it's not just that it's faster, the richness of the information is important, and it then connects internationally to law enforcement partners across the world where we conduct international operations. Real things happening, tools in real time having an impact on people, and it's really nice to see.
Really appreciate all the women and men at Department of Homeland Security, and it's fascinating and fantastic that we can put these powerful tools in their hands to catch these bad actors. Sujit, Databricks.
Absolutely.
Let's highlight an example that you'd like to shine a light on for us.
Yeah, I think maybe organizations like Databricks work with pretty much every agency inside the federal government. Really, I think the key here is in AI is really the innovation and bringing that from the commercial space into the federal space. So I kind of touched upon this a little bit with speed, accuracy, and cost. And we kind of saw that with the new open source LLM we just released the other day, DBRX. And really where that innovation is happening, the speed of it is faster than most of the models out there, including GPT-3.5. But the key behind it is we did it in 2 months and did it with about $10 million of investment across 3,000 GPUs. Normally, that would have been 18 months and probably about 10 times the cost on a 9-figure order. So that's the speed of magnitude of which we're able to actually impact innovation. So what does this mean, though, is from a federal government standpoint or regulated industries, people can actually use that with their own data. So you're not necessarily actually training an external model. You're able to do generative AI type capabilities like RAG and be able to actually do it with your data inside your 4 walls. So that becomes a big precursor for some of the more advanced use cases that we'll need to see across national security and other public sector use cases.
Really do appreciate that. Matt, currency is the Department of State's, or words are the Department of State's currency. And you all have been on a tear over there. I know you're doing some cool stuff. You want to highlight 1 or 2 for us?
Sure. Yeah, we have. We're seeing the gains and the benefits of AI and machine learning on the mission side and on the management side. On the mission side, using image analytics that that supported the International Criminal Court arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin is just a quick example. Supporting climate negotiations at the climate summit in November is another example. But on the management side, just to dive a little deeper on a particular example that highlights each of the goals in our AI strategy. We have an executive here who went to the Partnership for Public Service to AI training for executives, and they each had to come up with a challenge that they wanted to tackle in their agency where they saw the benefit of AI. He came back, talked to me, and said, "Hey, I'm responsible for declassifying information that reaches their, that 25-year mark we all deal with." That something is going to be automatically declassified if we don't analyze it. And we were able to use machine learning. I know a lot of people are talking about AI. We were able to use machine learning in that case to an accuracy level of over 97% and reduced over 60% of the workload. And that is through, with human in the loop, training on data from previous decisions, and testing and evaluating the models against a blind set of data, deploying it, sampling it, and going through it. And that took guardrails. It took a sampling approach that's really important. It took the training of having an executive that knows where business value can be unlocked with this kind of technology to bring that kind of capability to bear.
I love the partnership that you all are doing there as well. That's fascinating, and appreciate the use cases. Michael, you highlighted a very sensitive, very important topic as a use case, and we really do appreciate that. Would you like to top line another one for us?
Yeah, so we're engaged across public sector, and while I don't necessarily want to highlight another one, what I would bring forward is the capabilities that we're bringing to market. Specifically around Red Hat's portfolio being accessible regardless of where you're deployed. Okay, so that's Red Hat's position in the market, is whether you're in one of the major cloud providers, your data center, or down at the border running a Raspberry Pi in a truck, you can be running Red Hat technology, and with that, running an AI platform. So think of all the different use cases that a mission can be served by this technology that's hardened on a platform that has a disasstig that's layered on top, and you can leverage all of the Kubernetes constructs that the government and commercial have adopted writ large over the last 10 years, right? So this is a very powerful story that can serve all the different mission areas. And we're also seeing large adoption in commercial. We have, Swift Banking is leveraging OpenShift technologies to help speed up their technologies. There's been a lot of talk about Swift with everything going on between Ukraine and Russia and all of our dalliances politically. But also customers like Verizon are leveraging our technology stack to help improve adoption, and speed up and drive efficiencies through their operations.
Really do appreciate that. And again, appreciate all the work you're doing across the interagency and the commercial sectors. Shane, how about a use case for generative AI at CIS?
So USCIS, we obviously, as I pointed out earlier, we do love our shiny things. And so we jumped at the chance to be part of the pilot programs that DHS is sponsoring as part of our overall generative AI approach for the agency, or for the department, actually. And so because of that, we put in for a use case. In our case, we took on something. The idea behind the pilots was to test the technologies, but not do so that, until we get our feet wet and we understand what we're doing. We wanted to make sure that whatever we did was not going to cause, potential privacy spill or other sensitive data spill. So we chose training. Obviously, training is very important to us. We spend a lot of time, a lot of money training our immigration officers and asylum officers. And the work that they do is unbelievably complex, and it requires them to have a whole lot of knowledge. They have to learn how to do a lot of these activities, while also understanding all the laws that are required behind that. So, getting better and training for our officers is a clear win for the agency. So when we took on the pilot project, we chose asylum training so that our officers who do this work, where they have to be able to interview people on credible fear. A lot of time and energy spent doing this. Normally with live people, we actually have actors that we bring in to do this training. So generative AI offered us the ability for them to interact with a human-like entity that would mimic the responses that they would expect. And we worked with the actual asylum officers who've been doing this work for years and years to help kind of build and frame the responses. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the generative AI solution could respond in very unique and interesting ways. So you would ask it, "Hey, why is it that you want to come to the United States?" And it would answer, "Oh, I'm afraid to go. I'm afraid to go home." And it would require the officer to start probing as it would be in a real world situation. And the generative AI was creative in its responses. It's a really interesting use case, and I'm not sure it's going to necessarily replace all of our training at this point, but it does offer that promise. There's a lot of potential for that. There's other use cases we're looking at as well, things that are really the generative AI offers us, especially in our space where our clientele, our customers are worldwide and come from every single solitary country. In much like Matt over there at State, he's probably thinking about this as well, that translation is a big deal for us. We spend a lot of money, a lot of resources spent on ensuring we have translation services. Generative AI offers that real-time capability that we're looking at for potential for really kind of augmenting our capabilities. Now, I will say, and I want to be super clear about this, USCIS is not looking to utilize AI to make immigration decisions. That will always be done by our trained officers, obviously. But we do see the future for Gen AI in augmenting and providing that assistance that they so desperately need. The laws, the policies, and the changes to those laws and policies are so unbelievably immense. It's very difficult for people to stay on top of. If we could provide generative AI solutions behind the scenes that augment that work, it allows them to get back to the work of doing the immigration.
Interesting use cases there, and we really do appreciate it. Very complex environment with those adjudication officers and life-changing to the individual, no doubt about that. All right, we're going to go into a couple of turbo rounds. We're going to ask for one priority from each of you for 2024 because we'd love to get into lessons learned as well. Matt, we're going to start with you. Top priority for you 2024.
Generative AI at scale in a secure environment for all of our users is probably the top technology priority, but it's also the top priority from a governance and access and security standpoint, as well as a training culture change management standpoint. Like, how do you bring those three pillars together around supporting users applying the technology to what Shane talked about in terms of language translation, in terms of media summarization and analysis. There's a lot of basic use cases in the State Department that can benefit from just the basic generative AI in a secure environment type of use.
AI generative at scale. Got it. Sujit, top priority Databricks 2024.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of two things. So it's commercialization of the tech in federal government very, very heavily. So across multiple classification levels, being able to bring some of our governance tooling to our customers in the platform. But then in parallel to that is working with a broader DIB integrator partners and actually bringing these governance frameworks to each of the agencies so they can interpret it. So, in essence, how do you make something like the White House EO actually real? I think Matt kind of hit the nail on the head.
Got it. Dimitri, top priority for you in 2024.
My head's around rethinking risk models because, we just deal with so many big numbers, 5 million images a day at airports, 1 million at border crossings, 1 billion packages of mail a year. How we manage risk in this space is not aligned with what large language models can do in terms of rethinking the risk model around the data and trying to understand anomalies in a more coherent way. I think there's a lot of space we could grow in understanding what is coming to us from abroad.
Got it. Katie, BMC 2024 top priority.
It's further refinement of our large language models to actually drive better adoption of site reliability engineering, DevOps, and just improve the ability to have actionable insights.
Fantastic. Ramesh, top priority 2024, DIA.
Operational resiliency, supporting intelligence advantage, right? Especially in our classified networks, applications, and also ensure appropriate governance, like standing up a centralized governance model, supporting federated execution for things like artificial intelligence.
Michael, top priority for Red Hat 2024. What's the demand signal?
Yeah, so I think supporting DHS and DOJ in responsible use, how to securely adopt this technology. I think Mr. Heisen laid out a really fantastic roadmap this year with 3 differing lines of effort. And I think positioning our technology to support that vision and to ensure that, our customers across mission areas are comfortable in secure adoption and responsible use, and how Red Hat can help drive that.
Copy that. Shane, top priority for CIS in 2024 regarding AI.
For us, it's going to be deploy a monitoring solution for AI across for the agency, which is more along the lines of a platform for us to manage, oversee, provide access and control, as well as manage the data side of AI for us. So that becomes the interface to all the models.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about AI and machine learning. We're going to get into lessons learned. Shane, I'm going to ask you top lesson learned as you all are adopting this capability.
Obviously as a CISO, I have my focus is going to be on cyber and cyber related lessons learned. And I think especially with the generative AI solution, the thing we're walking away from right now, especially from the projects, is we really don't understand the risks as well as we need to. They are, they're not captured within the NIST controls that we leverage for risk management. So it's pretty clear to us that a new overlay is going to be required. It's going to need additional policy, and most importantly, I think this is key. The policy's got to be fluid. We can't wait 2-3 years for NIST to update these policies. The technology is changing so rapidly, so quickly that even from the moment we started the project to the moment we finished the project, the technology changed. So obviously our policy process and the way in which we issue those policies has got to change as well.
Very good point, and we really do appreciate that. Michael, top lesson learned from Red Hat's perspective.
Yeah, so Mr. Barney just kind of hit on one. So, technology's been moving at speed, and AI, of course, is moving much faster. And I think the agility is important. Being able to adopt new policies, create new policies to keep up with this technology, I think is going to be more important than ever. While also not forgetting our existing policies. Mr. Barney actually had a really good LinkedIn post. He titled it an AI rant, but I thought it was pretty insightful, to where it's like, hey, let's not forget about insider threat. I think that's kind of important, right? So let's not forget our existing policies and how we can map that to our existing technology stack, but also we need to adopt new, faster security policies because the legacy mindset around the speed of this technology isn't going to allow us to function and be able to
need new policies, and the pace of technology is super important. Really do appreciate that. Dimitri, top lesson learned as you've adopted this capability.
I want to build on what Shane said. I think about the risk side, the adversarial side of AI that we see as emergent, that is not really boxed in. It keeps evolving, and I don't think we've quite stood up an understanding of how to deal with it. The adversarial side of generative AI, from transnational repression and kind of the targeted disinformation campaigns we see spreading anti-US sentiment in other countries, or things that drive migration to the southern border, but also just the way you can attack technologies we already deploy that are dissimilar from how we do cyber. You don't have to touch a system to defeat it. And we see examples of that, and we're testing this more. And so I worry a lot about how to position ourselves in an emergent domain, which requires different kinds of thinking for things that are already happening today. And that's something we need more of a footprint in.
Fantastic insights there. We really do appreciate you highlighting that. Katie, how about at BMC? Top lesson learned as you all have been on this journey.
Yeah, I mean, data is king. And if you don't have good data to help you build out your large language models, to help you build out what you're doing across all your pillars of artificial intelligence, you're not going to get good results. And when I say data is king, I also mean, from an IT operations management perspective, you can't just rely on one system of record. So you have to have a system that's open, that allows you to pull in information from multiple sources to get that accurate data to then create the accurate recommendations and insights.
Really do appreciate that. Speaking of data is king, data is Matt's currency. Matt, top lesson learned as you all have been on this journey for a while now, that you'd like to impart some wisdom on our community.
Thanks, Luke. I agree with Michael. Flexibility. We put out a guidance on video generation with AI, and then we have 300 locations across the globe, and sure enough, got an email back on one of them from one of them saying, "Are you sure you want to do it this way? How about this? We think we can come up with a solution using this approach. Are you good with that?" And we've had to quickly adapt. So I think the ability to produce policy at a pace that matches the technology is going to be really important. I think the other thing is this, you and I've talked about this before. We take a campaign style approach where we take two priorities from the deputy secretary, one on the foreign policy side, one on the management side. We go as fast as possible in 6 months. And it's cross-functional delivery, people that are experts in legal and civil rights and cyber and tech and training and change management and engineering, and bring all of those skills to bear and on clear priorities, and then assessing where we are, adjusting and shifting to new priorities. We found that to be incredibly powerful in our delivery approach.
Flexibility is going to be the key, no question about that. We really appreciate the wisdom you're imparting there. Sujit,
Yeah, I
top
think
lesson learned from Databricks perspective.
Yeah, I think primarily it's not only just the data quality aspect, but also the data governance aspect, heavily around who's accessing what and how you're actually feeding these models, and that entire end-to-end life cycle around that. It's very, very key to have deep understanding of data quality, classification, lineage. So having that entire life cycle mapped out, understood, is very, very critical for any agency that's trying to adopt a technology like this.
Good point you're raising there, Ramesh. You're in a delicate spot there, right? Between sort of church and state, if you will. Lessons learned as you all are implementing that capability.
It's not that bad, actually. So certain things are very generic.
You're not
right?
breaking a sweat, are you?
No, I think I'm trying to focus and complement what industry is doing. I'm trying to focus on AI safety and security. Because everybody's creating applications and trying to sell things. Somebody has to take care of the country and people. So I'm trying to look at, from a AI safety and security perspective, how do we complement and ensure we have guardrails to effective use of AI for human machine and machine teaming. That being said, I mean, I had a lot of listening sessions around the country with multiple combat commands and intel service centers. And the biggest gap is talent and skills, the people, investment in our human resources. How do we upskill and cross-skill our people when the budgets are relatively flat, right? So talent becomes a very big part. Second is the role of digital platform. I mean, we are in a platform-based business model. How does our operating and business model shift? And it's not a small change, right? For example, GPT-3 to GPT-4 is 100 times increase in infrastructure, and cost of a GPU is like $70,000. I don't think any CIO is going to get 100 times increase in their funding. So it becomes very challenging. Federal government has to rethink the role of digital platform to effectively have human machine teaming scenarios and integrate into our operating models.
We really do appreciate that, and the specific highlight there is certainly very important for any CIO to be thinking about. We're going to wrap it up here, and we like to to do that in the form of painting a picture of the future. 2 to 3 years, we know there's a absolutely tectonic shift in this technology. But if we fast forward 3 years, Mike, let's start with you, Red Hat. What do we think in 2 to 3 years now? What will you all be delivering? What will we be facing as a community around this topic?
Oh man. So for me, it's erasing the loss of capabilities that have been left on the table by not being able to have the time or resources to adopt new technologies. I think AI is going to be embedded in every product that we leverage that's going to be able to drive adoption regardless of the product stack. And that's been an issue historically, right? Is we don't have the resources to necessarily adopt all the capabilities that can serve the mission. And I think AI's biggest thing there for the next 2 to 5 years is going to be that we're going to be able to speed things up.
Really do appreciate that. Sujit, about a Databricks 2 to 3 years from now? What's in the Petri dish? What can we expect?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, I think you're probably going to see two things. You're going to see kind of the focus pivot away from the hardware aspect of it being so expensive right now to the speed of innovation around that and cost dropping dramatically, so everybody can actually start taking advantage of this at scale. And the other is ubiquity as far as the availability of this technology across multiple classification levels, going above just FedRAMP, but going into like IL5, higher classification levels as well, and really enabling these use cases, things like Ramesh talked on MDO, all the way to some of the other public sector use cases as well. So really ubiquity of capability in the next couple of years here.
And you know, when that cost gets driven down, it's I guess alarming, I'll say, to think that there could be that much power in pretty much anybody's hands is impressive and a delicate topic, I would say, going forward. So we really do appreciate that. Katie, how about at BMC? What can we expect 2 to 3 years from now? What will you all be rolling out, or what are we going to be facing 2 to 3 years from now?
Well, let me go on record by saying I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords. I'm just kidding. It's not getting quite that bad. But I see, particularly in the federal government, we're working with some of the partners in the Department of Defense to build out an AI platform that's going to allow for management of edge devices. We call it Helix Edge. And it's really think about if you've got a plane that's up, flying. A fighter jet is nothing more than a computer with wings in this day and age. That's what it is. So how can we harness the power of all the sensors that are on that fighter jet and bring that down so we can make decisions in real time rather than waiting for the plane to land, then taking the information off of it and then making decisions that are based on past data? That's where I really see in government particularly, that convergence of everything we're doing at the edge into an AI platform to make real-time decisions.
Fantastic, and I appreciate the fact that we're going to be pushing it out to the edge. Matt, if I'm a freshly minted Foreign Service officer, I've been assigned to a post, I get in there, turn my computer on, am I going to have these magical powers and capability to perform diplomacy? What can we expect 2 to 3 years from now in regards to the things that you all are rolling out, the policies that you're laying down, et cetera?
The answer is yes, and their supervisors will probably talk about the old days when they had to get up at 4 and 4
Pull out
hours
the paper books and the famous shoebox.
That's right. 4 hours summarizing media or translating, from Urdu into English, and taking hours to do that. We have adopted a phrase: more face-to-face time, less face-to-screen time. There is the reason we have people all over the world to shape our foreign policy is to engage both with the host nation's government and the people within that host nation. And we need to maximize the time that they spend in front of them. So we see an operational efficiency advantage. Also, the decision advantage of consuming, as Katie had mentioned in an earlier answer, the ability to consume larger amounts of data and synthesize it on short order if it's a disinformation campaign across Eastern Europe. the ability to get those answers in minutes instead of hours or days is can be revolutionary for us. It's I can't be more excited about what the next 2 to 3 years are going to show for us and for everybody that relies on foreign affairs policy work by the State Department.
Which in fact we all do, either directly or indirectly. So we really appreciate everything that all the women and men are doing over there at the State Department to keep this country safe. Ramesh, how about at DIA? 2 to 3 years from now, what are you expecting you're going to be focusing your attention on?
I mean, we are already on that journey. I would say integrating unmanned capabilities to manned missions. That's a big part. With Edge, how do you operate without a command and control node, operating in contested environments, and supporting our combatant commanders with the strategic deterrence posture that the country needs to ensure we have the capabilities and resiliency across all the domains, including supply chain resiliency and the data assurance, wherever the information is required is provided with appropriate intelligence advantage for the nation. So I would say the technology continues to grow at a very rapid pace. Hopefully we'll have better regulatory framework by then, where we have explainable and responsible AI that complies with US Constitution. So we are not slowing down any innovation, but we are doing it in a very responsible manner to have a safe and secure AI for human machine teaming.
Responsible, purposeful, and at a pace that incorporates all these capabilities and thinking. So we appreciate everything that you all are doing over there, Ramesh. Shane, 2 to 3 years from now, can we expect an adjudication officer to be a bot on the other end, just pumping these capabilities out, this sophisticated analysis that needs to get done? What can we expect 2 to 3 years from now in a more serious manner there from CIS? Both maybe on the operational side and from the security domain, which of course you have a mastery of.
So you're asking a CISO, so we are paranoid and doom and gloom by nature, which we're paid to do. But I'll try to be somewhat positive. I think on the mission side, I think the AI technology, especially generative side, is a really true mission enhancement to what we do as an organization. I mean, as anybody who's dealt with immigration and understands the immigration process, understands the amounts of data that we deal with, the sort of complexities in that data, and the complexities of immigration in and of itself. So generative AI offers us the capability to do things we simply could never do. Right? The technology just doesn't exist. We never have the capabilities to do. So I can see this where, especially in the legal side, training side, translations, things that we deal with. But as well as how we do identity resolution across the broad spectrum of immigration is a huge issue that can be solved through some of the AI technologies. But then there's the CISO side of that, which my hope is, and I do mean that hope, is that we do adopt a more fluid attempt at policy. And that we, something that USCIS has adopted very early on was this, we refer to it as how-to security, but it's really based in GitHub. And it's very fluid. We change it as the security policies need to be changed. There's a process to it, but at the end of the day, if I need to update my security policies, I can do so probably within 20 minutes. And that gets replicated out through the environment. Generative AI is changing that quickly. And we in the federal space need to figure out a way to deal with that from a policy perspective and making sure that there's a consistency application or that we're consistently applying those policies across the broad spectrum. My fear as the CISO is that something's going to happen, some really big incident, something that's going to grab everyone's attention and in all the wrong ways. And then there's going to be a knee-jerk reaction to this technology that's going to limit what we can do with it. And that's what I don't want to have happen. So, my hope is, please, let's rethink the way we do policies today. Let's develop a process by which we can be more fluid, more adaptive, and more responsive to kind of stave off what we all know is going to happen. I mean, cyber incidences are not an if, it's a when. Let's see if we can limit the damage now as opposed to waiting until after the fact.
Appreciate everything that you all are doing there, Shane. Dimitri, you top-lined a lot of interesting use cases there. Are we just at the beginning here? They're just at the foothills of
Yeah,
Mount Everest in regards to capabilities. What can we expect 2 to 3 years from now?
you know,
What do
kind
you
of
all
as
have
the
cooking over there in your petri dish?
you know, as the RDT&E engine for DHS, we are leaning into this with all the operational parts and with first responders. And there's stuff that will happen that you won't see. You know, when you hear about you know, fentanyl seizures and arrests and drug labs and that, you know, behind the scenes, I think the public face of what you'll see. Last month we unveiled our self-screening prototype for airports. You know, it's a self-check opportunity. You know, it's coupled to a touchless entry. You know, you don't have to bring out an ID anymore. You can just stand there, you go through, screen yourself and pass through. It's our first step of things already being tested in Las Vegas at the airport. Smarter ways of processing, understanding the risk under the hood. So AI is involved there, and it frees up officers, badged officers, from having to carry luggage and move carts, so they can manage, you know, the risk of people and understanding the environment. So it's improved safety, it improves throughput, and I think it's convenient. So I think you will start to feel it when you pass through airports. As things get different, think of us. This is something we're pushing. In terms of getting ahead of disasters, we started deploying smart wildfire sensors. We've got it in 11 states. We just rolled out more in Maui again a few weeks ago. They're being deployed next month in April. And there are going to be networks of these smart sensors that kind of baseline, depending on what part of the country you're in, different kinds of background smells. They're big sniffers, different kinds of particulate matters. Do people barbecue there? Are there volcanoes? You know, what is the baseline and what triggers an alert? So that and flood sensors, you know, trying to get ahead of disasters, because if you do a little bit of prevention on the front end, you save so much in terms of cost to the taxpayer. And so this is something you'll see more, things that get triggered in advance and alerted people that something is happening, and that will be an impact that should be visible.
Predictive capability is very powerful. And again, appreciate everything that all the women and men at the Department of Homeland Security are doing to keep the country safe. Well, this has been a fantastic show. And I'd like to thank all of the guests today for taking their time out of busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for supporting us on the show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.